resources and the participant handouts. I'm going to ask for some feedback at the end again. And let us know if you need any resources. I know Eva is going to keep dropping in the chat, or Claire might be as we go through. But our objectives today are to deepen some understanding about some IEFA essential understandings and the multicultural approaches and teaching specifically in mathematics. We probably already have a pretty good grounding of that, but we just want to go a little bit deeper. We're going to explore some strategies. I'm going to show you an instructional strategy today, which should be exciting. And then we're going to show you some resources. And before we go much further, I want to take a moment and introduce Julie Jeffers, who's on the call with us. Julie?
Okay, it's Zoom. I can't find my mute button. Heska Halton Postier, Julie Jeffers, Louise Quest. My name's Julie Jeffers. I am one of the Indian Education for All uh, specialists. My main focus is curriculum, and Katrina and I have been working for almost a year now, I guess September-ish, so 6 months now on the math standards and implementing that cultural relevant piece into the new standards guidance booklet that she has. And she's a rock star because I just I just get to say yes, and she does 90% of the work. So it's all on her.
You're selling yourself short. She also encourages my harebrained ideas where she's like, yeah, you could totally do that. And then you could do it this way. So she agrees, but then also expands and makes it even better. Um, so as always, we have those professional development unit requirements that are tied to our administrative rules. And so in order to help us meet that, we're asking that you can keep your camera on and stay engaged in the chat. I know some of you have already mentioned that there's some issues with the cameras today, so thanks for letting us know about that. We'll make sure we make a note so you can still get those PDUs. And then, of course, always fill out that evaluation survey at the end so we can make sure we know where to send the PDU and how to improve the offerings that we're giving out today. I did want to take a moment and check in. I mentioned earlier that this is one of the final sessions that we have in our current plan for PD, but we know that the work's not done and there's so much more to do before implementation. So as we kind of look into what year two is going to look like, I'm hoping you guys can provide some insight into what you're wanting. And I have some options here. I'm hoping you can drop in the chat which PD model you think would be the most helpful to help you through the implementation year. Obviously, I said this is about planning, so I can't make any promises that any one or all of these will be offered, but it does help us to know what the field wants. So if you could drop in the chat one of those big headings. So if short focused webinars is what you want, that's what you would type in the chat. Thanks, Karen. That's helpful to know. Karen says deep dives into specific standards with some resources. Yeah, Rachel's agreeing. Great. We'll see if anything else gets put in there. We'll definitely take a peek at that and help it, use it to help inform our planning going forward. For our check-in, this is to help, this is the documentation for the PDUs. Oh, thanks, Angela, for putting that in too. This is the documentation for the PDUs. So if you could check in, I'm curious what you all feel helps your students feel like math is meaningful to their lives. So in your opinion, what helps students connect with that mathematics? Yeah, connections to the real world. Mhm. Are there types of connections that work best for your students, Rachel?
I'll just unmute for that. I
Yeah.
think it just really depends on what topic we're working on. So, for
Mhm.
example, if we're doing unit rate, thinking about grocery shopping and how that can help, and sharing examples of how they could help their parents save money if they understand how to do that concept. So, Really just kind of depending on what we're studying at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm hearing something, maybe sometimes things they know that they can use in their adulthood as well.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then thanks, Karen. Yes, I agree. Measurements are super important as well. And Angela, thanks for putting in that connections to this their specific world piece too. I think that's so important, and that's something that we'll definitely show a little bit and talk more about today. I did want to put up just a moment some of the like big barriers that we hear a lot when we're going around, Julie and I, to the field and speaking to educators about IEFA. Um, a lot of the time, these kind of statements come up of best intention, wanting to integrate math and IEFA, but maybe not knowing where to begin or not really sure if the integration that they're going to use is going to be authentic to both the culture and the mathematics, whether they can find some resources that are available. That's sometimes hard in math. We have like over 200 for history and I want to say in the 20s for math. So it just is a little bit of a challenge sometimes we also hear a lot that some teachers are not Indigenous and don't really know if they're the ones that should be teaching about Indigenous cultures and concepts. So there's that barrier as well. Some of those may or may not sound familiar to you, but it is what we hear kind of the most often. So we're going to take a step back and unpack some of those by starting with what the role of IEFA is or IEFA in mathematics instruction in the first place. And I'm going to put this map up here and let Julie talk about it so she can give us the background of what this map is and what it all means.
You see me again looking up in the upper corner there. Um,
Mhm.
so this is our state map. Of course, we have 12. Let's start this out. We have 12 tribes that are now home. So Montana is home to 12 tribal nations in Montana, 7 reservations, and one little dot in the middle where we have our the little shall have their tribal land. And um, I hate the color on that. I tell people change the color with a marker when it's on their wall because it does misrepresent 8 reservations. A couple maps that I've seen actually say 8 reservations, which there is not. We also, Montana is also home to the traditional homelands to the Nez Perce, Shoshone, Bannock, Hidatsa, Mandan, Arikara, Sioux. Um, I want to say the Hopi and quite a few others. I know Yellowstone National Park, which is just if you notice, Yellowstone National Park is really not in Montana, but we definitely claim it. We've got like a 3 square miles of Yellowstone National Park in Montana, but it is home to 27 native tribes. So there's a lot that can be done just looking at a map in math because I look at this and I'm like, oh wow, there's so much there when we have the traditional homelands like the Kootenai up in the corner. The Kasanka lands are in that upper left corner that are green and but they're now on the Flathead Reservation. So there's so much just in area, distance that I can look at a map and come up with math. Um, because that's how my brain works. But it doesn't, and not everybody's brain works that way. As teachers, as math teachers, you're going, yep, my brain works this way. This, I can look at this, but our kids can't always see the math in that. And like Katrina mentioned earlier, those real life situations, where is some of this math in those real life situations? And we've done our best to find that. So hopefully you guys are going to see that in that guidance document a little bit more too. Katrina.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Some brief little timeline. Indian education in the state of Montana goes way further than just 1972. But I wanted to call out this chunk of time. If you're curious about more of the full history, this document that I've linked up in the corner, that History and Foundation of American Indian Education, will give you a longer timeline. But our goal is really to learn about what the requirements are for teachers and our schools. And so that's why I'm starting in 1972, because that's where the state law, the MCA 21501, was created. So that was a piece of legislation that affected our Constitution. I'll show you the language of that in a moment. Then in 1995, we had the American Indian Language Teaching License established. In 1999, they wrote the Essential Understandings. In 2021 or 2011, sorry, we started writing our content standards. We adopted the Common Core content standards for mathematics and intentionally added in the IEFA or IEFA statements into those standards. And then from 2021 on, there's been some more updates. So in 2021, there was a class, or sorry, a lawsuit that was alleging failure to fulfill that original policy from 1972. And then from that in 2023, we've had some revisions to some Montana rules and laws. And then there's also new House bills in place that are kind of reaffirming the commitment to that. And you can see some of the language changes if you look into those. They are all linked there if you are interested in that. Here's the language as it currently stands in 2025. So I'll give just a moment to read that. And if you're just joining us, we're just getting started. So you haven't missed too much yet. Kind of doing background on what our requirements are and everything. So that's that law that I mentioned. And we kind of want to know, okay, well, this is policy and this is law and all of these kind of things that are in the background and play, but we still have to translate all of that to our classrooms. So we want to explore what IEFA can look like in math classrooms. And it's important to always remember that IEFA integration can do a lot for our students. It can help them connect to those lived experiences or even place-based familiarity when we're bringing in things that are local to our region or our communities that we live in. They can provide those authentic contexts that some of you mentioned earlier, something that they can use going forward. It does have the capacity to elevate Indigenous voices and perspectives when we're bringing in we're working with elders or knowledge keepers or bringing in resources that have recordings of those voices. It can also help create some respect for cultural practices and histories and the experiences of Montana Indigenous peoples, as well as developing cultural competency in students, which does tend to apply, it seems like, to a lot of some skills that have been identified in graduate profiles across our state. We have a lot of schools who've decided that being a good community member is part of their graduate profile. And I'm sure you guys could see the connections to being a good community member and being culturally competent, those kind of playing together. So it can support some of those things. I do want to clarify that Montana teachers are not required to teach culture to students. That is not a requirement. However, the state does expect students or teachers, sorry, does expect teachers an opportunity to provide students with learning opportunities that help them understand the heritage and histories of Indigenous peoples, that those learning opportunities are aligned to the IEFA framework, which I'll show you in a moment. And we are expected as educators to try to work and build relationships with tribes, elders, content knowledge keepers, etc., and build those effective relationships. Big question, how do we do that? Because it's all, theory at this point. We haven't really dove into like, what does it look like in application? And that's one of our goals today, is to show you an example of that. So we're going to start really quick with this super important document called the framework. And I have a little activity. I'm hoping you can pull that document up. It's going to go in the chat in just a moment. And I'm asking you to find these 5 sections. And if you can give me the page numbers in order, don't put them in yet, but if you can give me the page numbers in order, sorry, I'm tongue-tied today, I will send you a book. So I've got Mathematical Mindsets by Joe Bowler that I can send you, or Building Thinking Classrooms by Peter. I won't try to pronounce the last name because I always mess it up. That Principles to Action book from NCTM, or Limitless Mind by Joe Bowler. And you get to pick. But pull that document up, try to find those 5 sections. And if you give me the page numbers in order, the first person to do it, I'll give a book away. And it is in the chat, or you can grab the QR code if you'd like. I missed an opportunity. I should have put the Price is Right music in the background. I won't subject you all to my singing. Nice job, Rachel. You got it. I will write your name down and follow up with you and ask you which book you want. Thank you. Um, yeah, so this, Julie, do you want to share what this document is and what its purpose is supposed to be for teachers?
So the frameworks document is, as it says on the front, it is a practical guide for teaching Indian education for all of Montana. What I like about this document is it starts with multicultural approaches from the Banks' multicultural approaches, and it shows you. Oh, Katrina's better at the Banks' multicultural approaches than I am. Um, it shows you different stages of where a project or where something in life, and that's what you guys had said a little bit earlier, um, can go from. What are we doing with an additive, which is just more like, say, Native American Heritage Day. So, what do you do for IEFA? My school does Native American Heritage Day, but do you do anything in the classroom? And that's like stage one, is just kind of having that one day or that one time. And the stages go up and up from there on how to implement IEFA. And then it goes over the essential understandings, which I love because everything in IEFA is based off of our 7 essential understandings. And then it gives you resources. And this is what I really like, is that there's actual resources in there. We need to add more. The document honestly hasn't been updated in a few years. And there's great little sections for English, science, math. It does have a reflection tool. And then, as Katrina put on here, it's got that math implementation chart. How often are you adding IEFA in your math? And what I tell teachers a lot when they've never done IEFA, especially in math, because math is, to me, honestly, one of the hardest, it's becoming easier and easier, is start with something a little bit bigger and add it in the fall, and then add something in the spring, and continue to work with that. The more you add in as the years go by, the more it's going to become second nature. It's not going to happen, especially if you're elementary, every single subject, every single day, every single week, every single month. That's hard to do when you're first starting out or you haven't implemented a lot of IEFA, and you just, okay, this sounds really good. What can I add to this? We're counting today. Can I add in some language? We're looking at beads, counting beads, and Katrina and are working on making this really cool game, which can go really far. And there's so much math in that game, that where does it go with the standards? And so by adding in just little bits and pieces, pretty soon it becomes second nature. And the framework walks you through that. There are some things in the framework that do not always apply to teachers. There's some administrative stuff. So I always tell people with the framework, take what you can, take what's going to you're going to use for you the most. But Katrina has used this guide a lot with those math standards, which I absolutely love. And it really helps if you don't understand, how do I go back and look at Banks's multicultural approaches? Well, there's an in-depth guide in the framework for that.
Yeah. Thanks, Julie. I'll add too, Julie mentioned it hasn't been updated for a while. One of the words that Banks uses in the document as it's listed is social justice. That's one of the levels. He has since revised that to be social action. So it's a little bit different I know that terminology can sometimes be difficult in some of our communities, but social action is a little bit nuanced and different. If you want to check that out, you can Google search Banks multicultural approaches separately. You'll see the updated framework. Well, we're going to keep on moving on. And I'm going to skip that question because we're a little bit low on time. And I know that we want to probably spend more time on what can we do in our classrooms. So I'm going to show you an instructional strategy that we can use. I think this is a really good type of strategy to use if you are maybe not as comfortable with IEFA, or you don't have that lived experience, or you just want to do something that's a little bit low floor, high ceiling with your students. So this one's kind of nice. I personally like to use it when I have those days where the administration says, surprise, there's an assembly this week and you have 20 minutes with your kids, right? This one can be a little bit supportive of that. So we're going to go ahead and I'll model. We're going to show a move or a video in just a moment. But I want to explain first why I'm choosing this context that I'm about to show you. I'm choosing this context because I live on the Flathead Indian Reservation, which is home to the Salish, Kootenai, and Pend Oreille. And this context applies to the Salish and Kootenai in particular. There is a seasonal round that the Salish use that mentions that in spring the bitterroot are typically harvested. And since we're approaching May, I thought this might be a cool one to show in case you want to copy it and use it. You'd have some time to refine it and practice it and do it the way that you want to. So that's the little bit of background as to why we've chosen this one. One of the things I'm going to ask before I show you the video is the goal of this assignment is to watch a context and then ask some mathematical questions and see if we can solve them as a group. So what I'm looking for is an example of a mathematical question. Could someone start us off by dropping one in the chat just so we know what that looks like? Any mathematical question that comes to mind? And while we're typing, I'm going to show the video on the next slide. And just to save us some time today, we're going to specifically be looking for mathematical questions related to time, quantity, and distance or area as we listen to the context. Eva, can you help us out? I'm going to call on you so I don't have to put a teacher on the spot. Oh, Rachel, thanks for saving the day there. Yep, what's the area of a triangle? If-then statements. Great, Angela. How many roots in a pound? Love it. Those are good examples of mathematical questions. So if we were doing this in the classroom, that's how we would want to start off with our students, asking them what a mathematical question is so that we could establish that baseline. Another example in the context of this Zoom call is I have, let's see, 14 people on the call. If I added 6 more people, how many people would I have on the call? So that would be a good example of mathematical question. We are going to use this Padlet tool in just a moment. So it looks like Claire just dropped it into the chat, a couple messages up. It says Padlet. If you click on that link or you scan the QR code, this is the spot that we're going to house the questions that come to mind. So here's this video.
I was born in Arlee, 1916. My name's Agnes Kinlow. I go by Oshne Kinlow. That's my Indian name. It's Oshne. That's my real name. Agnes is just, when I went to school, I didn't know how to say Virginia, but that's Oshne. But I rather go by Oshne instead of Virginia. I like Oshne. I'm Salish. I'm from Bitterroot. My mother was 3 years old when they had to move out of there from Stevensville to Arlee.
In the early 1900s, during the spring, many Salish would journey south from the reservation to the Bitterroot Valley or the plains of Missoula to gather bitterroots.
My mother and my brother-in-law would drive us to Missoula and wagon. We'd take teepee poles with us. Rough road, that time. It's got to be in the 20s. Takes us all day to get there. But we get there though.
The old people, if you can just imagine them traveling in buggies and horseback, going there and taking a whole day to get to the Bitterroot field and camping over. We used to camp in Missoula, where Shopko was at. Shopko in that area, so there was a big open field there. And if you look into town today, right where the tree line starts at, where the old oak trees are at out there, that was the edge of town then.
My dad had an old truck. He used to throw all our stuff in there and take us to Shopko. That was our Shopko then. Yeah.
Great big camp east of Kmart. There were lots of people long time ago. A lot of Indians, I mean. Teepees were scattered, but there were lots of teepees, and they were just littered all over. All the Indians would be digging. Big camp. Not only just 4 or 5 teepees, it'd be hundreds of people digging, because it's only lasts about 2 weeks. And after that, they all come back home, back to Arlee.
My grandma used to talk about her parents when they dig Bitterroot. But she used to talk about all that. See that big mountain right behind the universities? No, wait, call it no, wait. But there was Bitterroot all over in that country, she said.
Digging was mainly the women's job. That was their winter supply of food, that was important for the elders then.
And Sophie Moise would usually be with us too. She was the one that prayed for the Bitterroot.
She goes out and just kind of keeps track of it. She has the right to dig one and check it out to see if it had right time when the skin peels off of the roots, so that it just peels easy. Then she passes the word on to the chief or to the people, and then the runners run out and send a word out that there's going to be the feast probably tomorrow or so, because it has to be done right away. They can't say, well, we'll wait till the weekend, It has to be done right away. So a group will go out to the Bitterroot fields, and they'll be in a circle there. They'll find one of the Bitterroot that looks good. They'll select the one, and so they put the root digger, the pets in the ground right there where the root is at. Then the person that's in charge of it will go ahead and start to talk to this and welcoming it. So they pull it out of the ground and they peel it, and then they'll talk to it again and say, we welcome you back. We're happy to see you. And I hope that you'll be plentiful for all of us.
Then we start digging Bitterroot. But as you dig them, you also clean them. Because if you don't, they'll be hard to peel. As soon as you get them out of the ground is usually the best time.
So I'm going to pause it. The video goes on, and this is actually one part of a multi-part series. But we're going to, look at what those next questions are. So if you have not yet dropped your questions in the Padlet, make sure you're clicking that link. I'm going to pull it up as well, because we're going to hopefully select a good question. So feel free to keep typing those in. If you're struggling with think of an example, I think Karen has a great example in there you could model after. So she asked, how long would it take to get the Bitterroot now compared to when they used to use wagons to harvest the Bitterroot? Great question. We could also ask something like, how far did they have to travel? Oshini mentioned earlier that she had to go from one location to the other, and what's the difference between those two locations? Could be a good question. Yep, Rachel dropped in the chat, what's the distance in miles from Kalispell to Arlee? I'm going to put that one on the Padlet for us, Rachel, just so we have it in one spot. Oh, you did it. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do while some people are still typing in some questions is put a little heart next to the one that you think would be the most interesting to try to evaluate. Well, one do we want to try to figure out today? Ooh, I like that one, Karen. I like the tying to the recipe because then you could maybe try to bring in a knowledge keeper or someone that could expose students to what that tastes like. That would be really cool. Yep, so I'm gonna like one. Yep, so see there's a little heart here. If you want to try to solve that one, you go ahead and like, you can like more than one if you want. We're gonna vote, and then we're going to select one as a group that we want to try to figure out. If we were doing this in the classroom, a Padlet may not be as interactive. Maybe we would have students get in some small groups and discuss what they just watched and then drive those questions in the small groups, or maybe we'd do an independent journal to get some writing involved, and then do kind of a think, pair, share, or a kind of group discussion. We might even have students shouting them out and we might be writing them on the board. Karen just shared that some of her students get to travel and harvest in their Salish class, which is really cool. Okay, so I'm seeing some likes on the recipe one and then likes on the distance in miles from Kalispell to Arlee. So what we want to try to figure out, looks like we're maybe based off of democratic rules going with the specific recipe. The question then, let me put this away, was what additional information would we need to answer this question? So if you could drop in the chat some things that are going to come to mind. If we're trying to figure out how much Bitterroot we need for a specific recipe, what additional pieces of information are we going to need to know? I'm going to put that question again in the chat just so that we have it in the record. Erin says we're going to need a recipe with some amounts. Yep. How much Bitterroot is measured? Are we talking about weight or teaspoons? That's a great question. Or are we talking about number of plants or number of roots? How much it weighs? I'll see if anything else comes in. I'm going to kind of speed this process up just a little bit. We would typically walk students through another process where we would ask them oh, Karen, thanks for the help there. She just dropped in a resource for us. So she found out the traditional Bitterroot and meat stew recipe. It says that it calls for 4 ounces of Bitterroot. So based off of that, we now need to know Angela's question of how much the average Bitterroot weighs, right? So that we could figure out how many we have to harvest for that recipe. Great questioning and great resourcing. So that's what our students would hopefully be able to find as well. And maybe because we're talking about a recipe, maybe we challenge them to find a couple different ones and then start to compare. We might ask them what reasonable assumptions they can make. sometimes the questions that they're going to come up with won't really have a hard resource that we can use. We might have to make a reasonable assumption about a quantity or a value that's mathematical so that we can start to evaluate the problem that we're looking at. And we also might start to look for some resources that we could use to verify, because some of the questions, like this one that we're working with, do have some resources that we could go look and seek out. So if we were trying to solve this question, how much bitterroot do you need for a specific recipe? Karen has given us the recipe of the bitterroot and meat stew. What reasonable assumption should we make about how much each bitterroot might weigh? We could probably Google that. Let's see. I'm going to Google and see if I can find out. I would probably challenge my students to do this in the class. This is saying that the average dry weight is about 0.502 grams, and we need 4 ounces. So what would our students have to be doing? Some conversion from grams to ounces, which could involve quite a bit of math. I'm going to cheat for us really quick, just to speed up our, actually, no, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to challenge you to figure out if we know that we need 4 ounces and one plant is approximately 0.502 grams. Let's figure out how many bitterroot we would have to harvest for this one recipe. Take a moment and then we'll share out what we did to get the answer. I'll give you a conversion as well. Once you have an answer or you think we are just going to do ishes. We're going to approximate. So throw in an approximation of what you think. Karen says 225 plants. Angela says 224. Rachel says 225 also. That's a lot of roots. That's really hard. So we would probably have some conversation with our students about that. I'm sure they'd have something to say. And then we would ask our students, are there any additional factors that made their answers unrealistic? Should we refine our model? We would, of course, ask them as they're coming up with these answers, how they got it. We would want them to show that using representations. We're a little low on time today, so we're not going to do all of that today within this training. But bringing in those representations and having them compare their strategies to solve really is effective for them to be able to see multiple ways to solve a realistic problem. Angela, yep, they'd be dried. and it should be done. Oh, but would they be dried? Ooh, so then we could ask question of how long would it take us to make this recipe, both to harvest and then to dry and then to cook. So that'd be a great follow-up question. Um, one of the things I was also going to say is that this is a really great strategy if you're trying to get kids to just get comfortable with not having the quote unquote precise answer all the time. So this can help students who maybe don't engage as often because they might be afraid of getting the wrong answer. Once you start, Joe Bowler calls it ishing, once you start making it okay and acceptable to have approximations, specifically in this context, because the roots all have different sizes and weights. We're just taking an average, so it would make sense that our answer would be not 100% the precise answer every time, but more an approximation or an answer. You might start to see some of those students who are afraid to engage start to feel more comfortable. Within this context, I'm gonna skip this one. I was going to ask you guys to identify which essential understandings and multicultural approaches we activated during this, but I think that that would take a little bit of time. I do want to show you something else I think is more actionable in your classroom. So there's a few essential understandings that are engaged here. Julie, do you want to shout out any of them? Do you know any off the top of your head, or do we just want to go along, thinking time-wise? Engage you a little bit.
With our okay, wait. So central understanding. I would look at number one. Is not all tribes are the same. So you're looking at tribal. The Salish use the recipe different than say the Blackfeet would.
Yep.
You got the harvesting methods, things like that. Essential understanding too. You're talking about history from a Native American perspective, so your essential understanding 6.
Yep.
The video
reservations
has
as well.
reservations in it, so you're really close on this to almost all 7 essential understandings. You could bring most of those in to just this little task because you're adding the video, you're looking at the Salish. If you add a different tribe in, the multicultural approaches, you're looking at a lot of different essential understandings right off the top of my head.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, and I agree. And I think the multicultural approaches, this is probably more in that transformative range of things. Depending how it's applied in the classroom, it could be additive as well. We definitely don't hit the social action piece of this, and we go beyond the contributions level. I was wondering, I was going to give you a moment there, Karen, to clarify that. I was like, I don't think that's what she meant. But yes, elders may be the best resources, is what she meant to put in there. Okay, so I'm curious, let's reflect for a moment. What made this an accessible way to integrate IEFA into mathematics? Either accessibility from the standpoint of your students or as the teacher, whichever feels authentic and comes to mind.
I'll just come off mute and
Yeah,
say
go for
I
it.
was super interested by the hook at the beginning. Like now I really just want to learn more. And the mathematical part is great, but I just thought the hook was really interesting and a new way to look at math rather than apples and oranges.
Yeah, yeah. And it requires them to think of the question. I think that's why I lean on this type of task so much, is that it requires my students to be the thinkers. I'll talk a little bit about what the barriers that can present in the classroom sometimes in just a moment. Rachel added that it makes it really easy to expand on the initial question. We hit that, right? We were saying, oh, we have this question about recipe, and then we moved it to this question about time. And I think exploring cultural applications, whether we're talking about Indigenous cultural applications or local context cultural applications, exploring it through the lens of mathematics can help us understand it at a much deeper level. The other thing Karen mentioned was you're not giving all the information yourself. I agree 100%. I'm not Indigenous. I don't have that lived experience. This allows me to learn aside my students and where we kind of level the playing field. Everyone gets to be a learner and everyone gets to be curious and respectful. Angela, yeah, I love talking about any recipe and then exploring local recipes. That'd be such a great connection, and seeing that was a chili recipe, right? And then how do we compare that to a different type of stew or chili recipe as well? That our students might be familiar with. Great
What I
applications
really
there.
like about this task is that you're looking at something indigenous and then finding the math in it
Mm-hmm.
instead of how do I find something that's gonna go with, say, a certain standard. You're adding something, you're subtracting, you're dividing. Instead of trying to find something, sometimes it's easier to look around at what is going on in nature and seeing the indigenous behind it, and then looking for the math to see if it will work with those standards that you're working with at the time, or if you can move it to the spring or the summer, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Julie. As far as contextual materials go, these kind of tasks, they don't have to be videos all the time. I mean, you can use books, stories, oral histories are great, because I think we hear directly from the people who have that experience. So those are probably my favorite ones to use. But there's also great accompaniment resources. In this context, there's a book that I believe CSKT or SKC, I may be getting that attributed the wrong way, but one of those organizations has created The Gift of the Bitterroot, which is a great children's story. There's all kinds of interactive maps and directions you could go with this. Some variations in questioning. You could start, I kind of let us heart which ones we wanted, and we did kind of a poll. But if you didn't want to have it be quite that fluid and open, and you wanted a little bit more control over what the students are working with so that it aligns better with what you're trying to teach them, you could select two and give them a choice between the two. You could also let groups or pairs work on different questions, so you could have that student agency elevated and let them kind of explore which one as a group that they like most. You could also give students types of mathematical questions to look for, like I did today. I kind of filtered it, right? So if we were teaching functions, for instance, I could have looked at that and said, hey, we've been learning about functions. Let's think of mathematical questions that have to do with functions while we watch this video. Pros and cons to all of those approaches. I listed some of them on there. One really great tip I'll add is that if you want to anticipate some of the questions that your students might ask, just so you could be a little bit more prepared, you can use AI to generate that kind of student question option. If you tell it, here's the kind of resource that I'm giving, I'm curious what my students might ask because they're fourth grade students in math or because they're high school students. And AI can kind of generate some sample questions for you so that you can have some resources ready to go when they ask for them. Some other variations that I'll share with you is you can let the students find the resources. Karen was the one that found the resource that we needed for that recipe. You can also choose to provide them to yourself, and this would be in that reasonable assumption making process, not the original hook process. This is a type of modeling task, and if you're interested in learning more about those, I would recommend grabbing one of these books. They're from NCTM, but they're written by multiple Montana educators, which is kind of nice. Both Beth Burrows and Megan Wickstrom work at MSU, so they're local Montana educators that are experts on this. And we kind of went through all these phases. We started with modeling with a problem that begins outside the mathematical world, right? It's not on a piece of paper. We don't have those parameters preset. We're looking at that context. And then we start to figure out how we can investigate the problem and then build a model around it. And we've decided whether or not our answer was good enough kind of toward the end. Here's that cycle that you would see. This again is in those resources, but you kind of run students through this process. It may not be just one pass around the center. They might come up with the problem, formulate, validate, interpret, compute, and then decide, oh, I went backwards, sorry, formulate, compute, interpret, and validate. And then they might find out through that validation process that it's not accurate and they need to go back to their drawing board. That is going to be something that you'll notice in your students. Eventually, they'll create a report where you would ask them to justify and prove once they feel that they have a good model or representation of the work. As we wrap up, I'm going to show you some examples of IEFA integration, and I'm going to ask you what you think as far as the level of integration goes, whether you think these are good. We are going to focus more on how they could be improved. So both of them have capacity to be strengthened. I'm curious if we could read this just for a moment and then drop in the chat some improvement or modification that you would make, or an application. This is a kindergarten standard, so we're using that frame of reasoning, but you could definitely choose to adapt it to your own classroom if you want it in a different way. So as we're reading, I'm looking for maybe one improvement or modification that you would make if you were using this task. Or maybe a resource you bring in. Karen says, we might ask students how they grouped the prizes. Rachel says, we might bring in beads or small items for them to manipulate. I love that part too. Yeah, make it more tangible and physical for the students. That's great. Yeah, you might do some volunteerism so you could kind of show what the students, how many students would be there, right? We do want to be careful when we're doing like role playing or volunteering in the cultural context. So we want to make sure that we're not having students, you know, pretend to do something that they may not have the contextual knowledge around. But if you're having them go up and kind of model as people, that would be excellent and a way for them to see it more tangibly. Angela also added assign partners to come up with the answers and then do a discussion of their presentation of their responses. Those are all really great inputs. Here's another one. I'll kind of let you know from the start so the last one, this giveaway ceremony one, this came from our kindergarten guidance documents. Actually, it's been modified since then, I think, but so this is kind of already in some resources. This one came from a different source. We have IEFA Teacher Learning Hub course that I modified it heavily from what a person had entered. So this is not a current teacher's work. I took the idea and I lowered the application level. So here's another application, and I'll mention that it's not the strongest. This one could definitely be improved a lot more, and I'm curious what's going to jump out at you as something you would change. So in this one, we have the context of feathers and dream catchers, and students are coloring, tracing numbers, and writing or saying the dream catcher is next to the feather to use those terms about placement. Eva says she'd provide real feathers for them to move and manipulate around. Yep. Oh, and to around the dream catcher. That's really cool. Yep. Rachel says, begin with practice with actual items. I love it. So both of you kind of touched on a similar thing of taking from, pictorial to concrete to abstract, that great transition in mathematical learning. Kindergartners are great bringing feathers. Ugh, gross. Yep. Um, I think one of the big fixes we could do on this one to tie it closer to the IEFA framework would be to make it specific to a tribe or a culture. This is kind of broad and could potentially end up with us not representing a cultural group appropriately, or potentially making students feel that all tribes worked with dream catchers, which is not really the case. So we could add that level and bring in a little bit more specificity to this. You'll notice the language says a Native American child. We could have changed that to be more specific and made sure that the tribe we're speaking about actually uses dream catchers or has a history of using dream catchers. Yep. And that is what the educator who had submitted this similar task had done, that kind of level of research and application. Julie, do you have anything to add on either of those two tasks?
On that one, oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having a rough day with this mute button. I really like bringing in tribally specific, especially with the Dreamcatcher. There's some great books out there. One of my favorite, I was just going to throw in the chat for y'all, is Grandmother's Dreamcatcher. It's a great book, and that is Ojibwe. So then you have Montana tribes there also, and then bringing in tactile items. That's wonderful. We definitely, I'm not a big worksheet person, so I like that idea before, after, or in lieu of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you were talking, I thought too, that book I haven't read it myself, but I'm assuming there's some statements about the relevance and importance of these images or these items to that culture. So that is really missing from this example, the way it's currently written. There's no like meaning, right? There's not really much to set this example apart from a regular math task where we just have bears or cars or some other general context. So those adding in that cultural relevance and then the meaning and intention behind some of these things can elevate that task to make it more meaningful for students and better aligned with that IEFA framework. We are really low on time. In fact, we're over, and I want to respect all of your time. So if you look at the slide deck yourself, you'll see some really straightforward answers for like what makes a really good IEFA integrated lesson plan. I'm going to call out just a couple of them really quick. We've spoken at length about that specificity piece. We do want to avoid tasks as much as possible that give the perception of pan-indigeneity or pan-Indianism. We don't want our students to walk away thinking that every culture is exactly the same, right? Just like we wouldn't want everyone to feel, or people to feel, that all Montanans ranch. We would want some specificity there. We also have really great IEFA lesson plans, elevate Indigenous voices, and bring those people with lived experiences or those resources that speak to those lived experiences in the classroom wherever possible. I will also issue a word of caution on AI. In my experience, it does not do a great job of finding culturally relevant resources or creating culturally relevant lesson plans. It's good to give you an idea, but you have to kind of go in and do the research yourself, because AI is a tool that searches the internet, and it's going to pull the resources that are most readily available on the internet, which is not always great resources or high quality ones that we should be using in education. So that's my little caveat, word of caution. When you go through the slide deck, there are also a bunch of resources on here if you would like to check them out. I've linked quite a few. The NIEA has a bunch of professional learning if this is something that you'd like to learn more about. That's a great resource for it. And I'll also call out this wonderful webinar from a couple years back. Adrian Tailfeathers from Browning did a great presentation on using tribal voting data in the middle school classroom. So that was a great lesson. I'll also call out that I mentioned earlier, we have that example about the giveaway ceremony in guidance. Those are created right now. We have kindergarten and grade 1 ready. We're working on grade 2 as well as the rest of the grade levels. But for every single math standard, there is an IEFA integrated context or activity that you could do and expand upon. The goal of those tasks are not to be prescriptive. They're not mandates at all. The intention behind them is really to give teachers a jumping off point, to break down some of those barriers that I mentioned early on, like I don't know where there's resources, or I'm not really sure where to begin. I want to do it, but I want to do it the right way, those kinds of things. So these give you a blueprint for that. And then our hope is that teachers will look at them and make them their complete own, and go even further than we've gone with them. So those resources are all linked here as well if you'd like them. Going forward, our next one, we're going to be talking about specific action steps and needs as we go into implementation. So that's the one that's going to set you up for where do you go from here. And then the following, we're going to take a little break over summer, but after that, we'll do some more targeted support. And it sounded like most of the feedback was they want us to look at maybe going in standard by standard and doing some deep dives. So it might be something like that. The last thing I have for you is the feedback form. If you could fill that out and give us some feedback about how we can improve or what was really enriching for you today, we would love that. Julie and I will check it out and see how we can improve our offerings. So thank you everyone for joining. It was really fun to be with you, and I'm so happy to be back. If anyone's curious, I had a little boy, so that's why I've been out, but my teammates have done a great job, I've heard. So thank you, everybody, and I'll stick around if there's any questions. Thanks, Rachel.